I want to call the meeting to order for the Transportation Committee for Monday, January 8th, 2018. Welcome back to Robert Street, everyone.
Oh, thank you.
First up is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Approval of the minutes for December 11th, 2017. Is
So
there a
moved.
motion? Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Next up is the TAB liaison report. Peter Dugan is here to report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, General Manager Lamb, Deputy Director Benowitz, members of the committee. In an effort to slim down the TAB report, at the suggestion of the chair, I'm going to highlight only those elements that are not coming to you either today or in the very near future. There is number one, there's a new TAC chair. That's a Technical Advisory Committee. She is Lisa Fries, the Scott County Transportation Services Director, term of 3 years. She replaces Steve Albrecht, who is a city planner for Burnsville, city engineer for Burnsville. And in news from the MAC, and I see Ms. Reif is here, but the hotel is due to open in July on schedule, and perhaps, as her comment, I will let her take the praise so that we won't have a outage here like they did in Atlanta. And speaking of that, I get out of the Atlanta airport about 3 hours before that happened, so I was very happy to hear about it in the past. One item that is not on today's agenda and will only be coming to you in the future is the Regional Bikeway Transportation Network map, which was adopted by the TAB. This provides the arterial background of the regional bike trail system, mainly on a county and state level. Although the local city trails are not inputted, they are not deprived from any funding, however. Half of the bikeways are already built, and it's updated every 4 years. Another item, the second item that is not on your agenda today or coming to you in the immediate future, is the Mndot project selection process, which was discussed with TAB by Philip Schaffer, who is its manager. Mndot is circulating, will produce a draft on its selection process after getting input from different constituencies, and it's trying this time to get non-traditional members of the public on a policy advisory group, such as local businesses, environmental, citizens groups, etc. And in the spring, they will return to TAB with an outline of its scoring components. On some anecdotal news, the World Expo, as you know, we were not chosen. However, it's too bad, the Kelly Farm in Bloomington will not be used. However, we did lose we lost to Argentina and Poland, Buenos Aires in particular. But the good news is that 20 representatives from Minnesota attended the conference, as well as 10 delegates from the Department of State. And we rejoined, meaning the U.S. rejoined the Bureau of International Expositions for the first time since 2002, which takes a House, Senate, and presidential agreement to do so. The plan is adaptable for 2027, and we came in third from the member countries. I don't remember how many there are, but there are hundreds of countries around the world that are members of the Bureau. And lastly, and I will ask the chair to add any comments to mine, on the Corridors of Commerce. Chair Naroff brought a letter to the TAB asked the TAB to comment on a letter she sent to Mndot Commissioner Zelli asked TAB to support this letter. There is concern that under new Mndot procedures, actually called performance-based requirements, that the bulk of the funding will go for the Corridors of Commerce, will go to Greater Minnesota and not the Metro. Heretofore, I understand that about 43% of the funding was in the Metro area, but this will decline in the future, despite the expected growth in the Metro is 94%. But perhaps more significance is this is the first time the TAB has waded into the political arena and it did adopt a resolution in support of Met Council Chair's letter. And Madam Chair, if you have anything more to add to that.
Sure. And Peter actually wasn't here for the discussion. He was visiting his daughter.
Family, yes, my daughter.
Family in Germany. But actually,
Thanks to Atlanta.
yeah, the chair didn't ask for TAB to adopt a resolution of support. It came out of the conversations. So the TAB had a conversation about, as you well know, the declining percentage of funding that will be going to the metro area in the future, and that the Quarters of Commerce comment period was closing, and right now they were considering a 50-50 split, which you all know about. And so TAB thought it would be most efficient to adopt a resolution of support for Chair Churumov's letter. And so that is what the action was. And it was unusual because TAB doesn't usually wade into that. So pleased to see it.
That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Are there any questions? We can move on. Deputy Director Amy Benowitz is here to give the MTS report.
Madam Chair and members, just two quick items. Last week, Mndot announced the awards for its Transportation and Economic Development Program. The metro area got 3 of the 7 projects, but $16.5 million out of the $18 million that was actually awarded. So that kind of relates back to Quarters of Commerce, where you can see how the metro area projects do quite well when they're scored on an equal basis. Then we have continued our meetings on the TPP with the counties. We completed Scott County last week and Washington County tomorrow morning. And then we have Hennepin, I believe, next week or the week after. And then Anoka County is not yet scheduled. And that would complete the 7 counties hearing about the TPP. And I think they've gone very well.
Are there any questions for Amy? Nope, if not, we can have General Manager Lamb's report.
Yes, Madam Chair, members, unlike the East Coast, whenever they have a little bit of cold weather, they have a whole new nomenclature around it. We call it winter around here. But nonetheless, when we do have winter, there are really many employees who are out there working in very adverse conditions. The colder it gets, the more critical these positions become. Both you're looking at some rail maintenance positions. We have things like cracking of the rail lines that we need to attend to, frozen switches. Oftentimes that's really when our police are at their utmost attention, keeping their eye out for the homeless. Our facility maintenance staff is out there in all weather conditions, and so we are very proud of how they are really super focused during this period of time, and so it positions us well to provide service when our customers need us the most. And so just wanted to bring that to your attention. Second of all, with Super Bowl less than a month away, we're beginning to implement some service changes resulting from some of the street closures already in Minneapolis. Most significantly, the Nicolet Mall, which we just opened, will close this Saturday, January 13th, for nearly a month to allow for Super Bowl live setup and activities. As we did during construction, routes 10, 17, 18, 25, and 59 will be rerouted to Hennepin Avenue. To help our customers keep up with all that Super Bowl related service changes, we've added a page to our website with current information on detours and bus closures. Customers are being encouraged to sign up for our rider alert services, which will provide route-specific updates via text messages and email. The website will also include update information on extra services that will be added to several bus routes, light rail, and North Star, and answers to frequently asked questions. And links to pages for our customers and fans can be found at the top of our homepage, and we will be providing, I believe it's the Committee of the Whole, a more complete Super Bowl update in the coming cycle. And finally, we have 2 new light rail trains set to enter service on the Blue Line this week. The new Siemens vehicles are among the 5 that were purchased to support existing light rail operations. If you remember, it was we were able to execute it on existing options. We actually were front-ended the capital necessary from Hennepin County, and then we're repaying Hennepin County over time for those vehicles. And we began to receive those vehicles last fall, and they're now entering service, and they're getting some finishing touches and passing inspections at our operations and maintenance facilities. The new trains are identical to the 59 Siemens trains that are already in service and bring our total up to 91 that we'll have in full operation by the time of the Super Bowl. And so with that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from committee members? Okay, we can move on to our business items. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion, Madam Chair. So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. First up on non-consent is 2018-10. It's a same week item, and it's a tip amendment, and I think Joe Barbeau is here to present.
Thanks, Madam Chair. As you said, this is a same week tip amendment item. The proposed action is that the council concur with TAB to amend the tip to change the termini and cost of 2 concrete overlay projects on US 169. Those projects are shown on the table. The first project isn't really supposed to be a tip amendment. It's a simple change in how the terminus is denoted. Mndot wanted to change that from the local road designation to the state highway designation. They didn't decide to include this with the tip amendment because it does connect to the next project and just to keep those projects together. The next one is really a administrative error correction. However, the correction is more than the 0.3 mile maximum for doing an administrative modification. Therefore, it is a full tip amendment, and that changes corrects an error to add the 0.6 mile east of Minnesota 25 and the 0.1 mile west of Minnesota 82. The tip amendment also reflects some cost changes, and cost changes are reflective of some of the scoping that's occurred since the item was originally in the tip.
Are there any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move the motion, ma'am. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up is 2018-12 proposed safety performance measures and short-term targets, and Dave Burns is here.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. So a little background on performance measures. These were kind of instituted in 2012 by the MAP 21 Act, which is a federal act regarding transportation. It established a performance and outcome-based program for both states and MPOs. And it's used to really ensure that resources are invested in projects that make progress towards meeting the 7 national goals that you can kind of see up on the screen right there. In order to achieve the performance goals, MAP 21 required state DOTs and MBOs to establish performance measures and specific short-range targets. And generally, there's 3 distinct, I would like to call them families of performance measures. The first being safety performance measures, which is PM1. The second being pavement and bridge performance measures, PM2. The third being system performance measures and CMAC, PM3. So each one of these families has a number of performance measures associated with them, and each require a target to be set for the associated performance measures. So the targets can be either annual, which is the case for PM1, or 2- and 4-year targets, which is the case for PM2 and PM3. The key thing here is after state DOTs adopt a target, MPOs have 180 days to officially choose to support that target or choose a different target altogether. And as of right now, these are not all on the same schedule, which further complicates and confuses things, but potentially in the future, they might be on the same schedule. So if I could kind of focus your attention on that top, those are the safety performance measures, or PM1, and that is what we are going to be discussing today. But overall, this shows the overall timeline for each system performance family. So for safety, or PM1 measures, Mndot officially set 2018 targets for the 5 safety performance measures on August 31st, 2017. As such, the Council must adopt targets by February 27th, 2018. Just a quick little heads up, you will be seeing additional performance measures and targets within the next few months, but focus here today, again, is on the safety performance measures. In terms of potential penalties for not meeting targets, for this PM1, for the MPO, there are no potential penalties for not meeting the targets. For the state, there is a penalty, and basically I'll read that verbatim. In each year, the FHWA has determined the state has not met or made significant progress towards meeting a performance target. The state will be required to use obligational authority equal to the baseline year HSIP apportionment only for safety projects. So going into a little bit more detail, the 5 required safety performance measures of PM1, the number of traffic fatalities, the rate of traffic fatalities, that is the number per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, the number of traffic crashes involving sort of serious injuries within the metro area, the rate, again, per 100 million vehicle miles traveled, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. Just a couple of notes, this will be based on a 5-year rolling average. We set the target annually, so we'll be doing this again year after year, approximately about this time. And we, as the MPO, are required to report this to the state DOT, who must provide it to FHWA if FHWA is to request it. In terms of significant progress, which I mentioned earlier, that is defined as meeting progress shown in 4 of the 5 measures, or an outcome that is better than the baseline performance the year prior to the target year. Going over the numbers here, what you see here on the left is the fatal crashes in the state, and on the right, the fatality rate in the state. You do see between 2014 and 2015, and 2015 is the most up-to-date data we have from Mndot, which is what we are basing this performance measure target on. My understanding is that might have actually went down in 2016 and 2017, so those are good indicators, of course, but you see they're fairly consistent with a pretty significant uptake in between 2014 and 2015. But the overall long-term trend, when we're looking at in terms of 10, 20, 30 years, for example, in 1994, there was 646 fatalities statewide, which is a rate of 1.49 per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. In 2000, we had 625 and a rate of 1.19. So at 0.72, we are actually significantly fewer statewide fatalities than over 10, 20 years ago. And here on the left, we have the fatal crashes in the MPO boundary area, as well as the fatal crash rate. So really, these trends don't monitor the statewide trends at all. Overall, the rate is significantly lower in the metro area than outstate Minnesota. It's approximately 1/2 of that is the state as a whole. And again, it's fairly stable over the past 5 years with minor fluctuations depending on the year. And again, really that long-term trend is significantly fewer fatalities than 20, 25, 30 years ago. The serious injury trends, I almost hesitate to put this because it's very misleading. You'll see a ginormous uptake between 2015 and 2016. Looks like it doubles. This is for the state. That is due to a methodological difference in how crashes were reported to the state. So previously, they reported It would only include confirmed serious injury crashes. As of 2016, the federal government required the state to include suspected injury crashes as well. So that's why you're seeing a huge increase between 2015 and 2016. Really kind of comparing apples and oranges between 2016 and previous years. So that was statewide. In terms of metro area, again, you see that huge uptick, but overall the metro area rate is lower than the state as a whole. It's about 2.67 versus 3.46. So serious injuries and fatalities significantly lower in the metro area. In terms of non-motorized fatal and serious injury trends, those kind of bounce all over from year to year, and metro area is kind of has a representative share of those crashes per its population. So Mndot's adopted 2018 targets, which again were adopted in August of last year, have total traffic fatalities of 375. This is for 2018. A fatality rate of 0.62 per 100 million VMT, serious injury crashes of 1,935, crash rate of 3.19, and non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries of 348. So this reflects their methodology here is an annual 3% reduction in fatal crashes from calendar year 2015 and an annual 5% reduction in serious injury crashes from calendar year 2016. So that is how they established those targets. So we did the exact same thing, except specific to crashes within the metropolitan area, which is the 7 counties plus portions of Wright and Sherburne County. And thus, with that 3% and 5% reduction, we have a total traffic fatality target of 89 for 2018, fatality rate of 0.31, serious injury crashes, a total of 642, crash rate of 2.35, and a non-motorized fatality and serious injury total of 112. So again, there's no impact to the council if we don't meet these targets. There are potential impacts for Mndot, as I explained earlier. And we must officially adopt the target by February 27th of this year. So, with that, happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Mund.
Madam Chair, David, what are the consequences for Mndot if we exceed the targets? First, it seems odd to me that we have targets for fatalities and injuries, but let's say we exceed those targets. What happens to Mndot?
Madam Chair, for the metro area, nothing would happen. For Mndot, tried to read it. It's very hard to kind of understand unless you know some of the nuances of the Mndot funding system. They would be required to use their obligational authority for the next year. I can read it again if you'd like, but in essence, they are required to use a specific amount of their obligational authority for safety-only projects in the upcoming year.
Are there any other questions for Dave? I was at a Highway 12 Safety Coalition meeting, and one of the participants on that coalition works on the Towards Zero Deaths initiative, and she announced fatalities, and I think these are preliminary, so, and this is my memory, but it was like 391 statewide for 2016 and 348 for 2017, the lowest they've had in many, many years. So, again, that's preliminary, and you're relying on my memory, but that it was. I know it was good news. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next up is 2018-13 Review of Metropolitan Airports Commission 2018-2024 Capital Improvement Program, and Russ Owen is here to present.
afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Russ Owen, planner with MTS. Director of Planning, Development, and Environment, Bridget Reef, is here from the MAC. If there are any specific questions about the MAC CIP, either she or Executive Director Brian Ricks will be presenting at the next Met Council, the full Met Council meeting on the 24th, I believe, and providing an overview of what's happening at MAC, trends, Super Bowl planning, and other things that have been happening at the MAC for the last year. So there'll be time to discuss if you have other questions outside of the CIP, that would be a good time to discuss that with the staff. So I come before you to discuss the MAC 2018-2024 CIP. But first, I'll go over some of the roles that the MAC and the Met Council have in regarding aviation planning. The roles of the MAC fall under Minnesota State Statute 473-601 to 679, and basically the MAC owns and operates 7 airports in the metro region. Their mission includes promoting aviation, enhancing competitive air service. The MAC also prepares airport long-term comprehensive plans, and also annually prepares a CIP to implement planned improvements. And through state legislation, the Met Council has been tasked to provide a regional aviation system planning, the Regional Aviation System Plan, which is incorporated in the TPP. This legislation also enables the Council to review both community and MAC projects for consistency with land use, airspace, and planning policies. And this also enables the Met Council to review the MAC CIP annually. So in order to review the CIP, the Metropolitan Council needs to follow 3 specific criteria outlined in the statute. The first criteria is to determine the adequacy of the public participation process, to review and comment on all projects for consistency with the TPP, including planning and environmental concerns, and then to approve CIP projects meeting certain dollar thresholds, $5 million projects at MSP or $2 million projects at reliever airports, and also if those projects meet the significant effects criteria referenced in Table 4 of the packet. The significant effects criteria are the following: a location of a new airport, a runway extension at an existing airport, runway strengthening other than routine airport maintenance, new or expanded passenger handling or parking facilities for 25% or more capacity increase, and land acquisition associated with the other criteria, or that would cause a relocation of residents or business activities. So the findings and excuse me. So the findings in the review of the 2018-2024 MAC CIP are the following. With regards to the first criteria, the MAC has followed a formal public participation process for many years. This process includes public hearings, public information workshops, sending out notices to affected communities. An affected community is a community that shares a border with a MAC-owned airport. If a community believes they are affected by an airport but do not share a border, they can submit a request to MAC to be included in the mailers and get information to the affected communities. Edina and St. Louis Park have both been included as affected communities that don't share a border with the MAC airport. The MAC sent out the CIP to affected communities in mid-September and held a public hearing at 10:30 in the morning on November 6th at their Planning, Development, and Environmental Committee meeting. All the projects in the MAC CIP have been included in the 2020 environmental assessment, which received a finding of no significant impact in 2013. The CIP funding for most of the projects consists of passenger facility charges, federal and state grants, MAC funds, and general aviation revenue bonds. And with regards to the second criteria, All the projects appear to be consistent with the TPP. There are no projects within the CIP that would change the airport system classification or increase airside capacity. Consistency with the TPP under the competitive economy and strategy D6 to ensure MSP is a major and international hub. The council, the MAC, Mndot, other agencies will work together to maintain a strong regional airport system, including maintaining MSP as a major national and international passenger hub and reliever airports that serve the business travelers. Also, safety and security under strategy B7, airport sponsors and air service providers will provide facilities that are safe, secure, and technologically current. And with regards to the third criteria, there are 10 projects. There are 10 projects that meet the dollar threshold, but do not meet significant effects criteria outlined earlier. These projects are primarily rehabilitation, maintenance, terminal upgrade projects, with the exception of the runway modifications happening at Flying Cloud Airport and Eden Prairie. Many of the projects in the CIP are in the out years, and those projects are mainly demand-driven projects. These projects will be initiated when thresholds are reached and demand is such that the project needs to begin to accommodate capacity and growth. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Are there any questions from committee members? You're a quiet bunch today.
I'll move the motion, ma'am.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is 2018-6. It's Southwest LRT Moline Park and Ride Purchase Agreement with the City of Hopkins. And Ryan Kronzer, am I saying that right, is here to present.
Good evening. Madam Chair, members, my name is Ryan Kronzer. I'm the Assistant Director of Design and Land Use with the Southwest Light Rail Project. This business item is a request to grant the Regional Administrator the authority to execute a purchase agreement with the City of Hopkins for the Downtown Hopkins Park and Ride. This park and ride is a little unusual. It's actually being developed and constructed by a developer, which is then selling the park and ride to the city, which the council is then in turn purchasing it from the city. This is the last step in the approval process before we close on it with the city, which is planned to be in February. A little bit of the background. Back in March of 2016, the City of Hopkins and Doran LLC, which is the private developer, entered into a development agreement to build the Moline with the public parking included. In August of 2016, Council approved the Southwest Light Rail project scope and budget, which is for the entire budget project, which included the 190 parking stalls that are included in this purchase in front of you today. December 16, the council authorized the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a letter agreement with the City of Hopkins. And in February of 2017, the city signed that letter. That was a letter stating the course of action. That's part of what's in front of you tonight is the council entering into a purchase agreement for this parking. And then just this fall, the building was completed and residents started moving into the apartment portion of the project. So a little bit of background here. This is a map of Hopkins. The green line is our Southwest Light Rail. The dot there is a downtown Hopkins station. Moline is kitty corner from our platform where the star is. Between the station platform and Excelsior Boulevard, which is that major street just to the north of our alignment, is the City Plaza. So this is a photograph from that City Plaza about 2.5 years ago. That building on the left is called the Johnson Building. That's the building that the city was very interested in seeing some redevelopment happen in order to create a more welcoming front door to their downtown from the Downtown Light Rail Station. This is what it looked like in September. Pretty dramatic change. So the proposed parking purchase is on the ground level of this building, which is behind the uses you see in this photograph. So going down A Street, which is the street going up the page, which has also been called the artery, that's lined with the lobby of the apartment building and other housing units. Going down Excelsior to the left is the entrance to the park and ride. There's an integrated transit shelter into the facade, and there's also a view into the secured parking, which is also part of the purchase. So this is the scope that's proposed to be purchased. It's enclosed. It's on the ground level. It's spaces for 189 stalls plus 6 motorcycles. There's a bus operator facility also included. That includes restrooms. There's that integrated transit shelter into the facade. And I think Metro Transit's first bike and ride. It's secured parking, kind of in a race to see which one of us gets online first. And then maintenance is addressed in a maintenance use and access easement, which is in its final stages of negotiations currently. This is a floor plan, so I've rotated on you. So that photo we were looking at is about where that north arrow is in the top right of it. So you see the entry that we talked about. The bike storage is just beyond that entry, the bus shelter into the facade. And then the operator room is at the far corner. So operators will have access 24 hours a day into that facility. It has restrooms, a small area for a microwave, and then a little janitor's closet. So it's a pretty basic but functional space. The auto entry of it is on the left side off of First Street. So folks will either come down Excelsior, turn left on the 9th Avenue, or turn right on the 18th if they're head west to come to the north side of the facility. So the recommendation before you is to authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a purchase agreement with the City of Hopkins to acquire a level of transit parking, an operator facility, integrated transit shelter, and secured bicycle parking in the Moline at a cost not to exceed $3.5 million, which includes the closing costs. And I will stand for questions.
Do you have questions? Councilmember
Madam Chair,
Atkins.
not a question, just a comment. I think this is incredibly innovative, and the City of Hopkins has just been amazing what they've done with such a small staff working with their development community to foster TOD around their transit stations. And I'd like to see this as a kind of a model for things that we could do elsewhere, like along the Orange Line in Bloomington, for example.
Well said. Are there any other comments or questions? Councilmember Mott.
Madam Chair, if I can chime in too, I broke ground on the Moline, and it's really an amazing development, and Hopkins has been an extraordinary partner. And I agree with Councilmember Elkins. This is a model for how we should do joint development.
Very good. I have one question on the bike storage.
Yes.
Is it locked bike storage? Is it, or is it they just do the traditional?
Yes,
locks?
it is. It's secured. So you'll have to, if you want to park your bike there, you'll sign up and use your go-to card to access that room. So only the people who have their go-to card on record at that card reader will be allowed in that space. So you walk into the lobby and there's a second door to get into the bike parking.
Okay, but once you're in the space, then there are multiple bikes then?
Yes, there's about 25.
But the go-to card unlocks it. Very cool. Yep. Nice. If there's not other questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. We have to decide which ones are on consent and which ones are on non-consent. I think they can. Oh,
Can't do the same week.
Not the same week, and maybe not the Metropolitan. Yeah, not the MAC CIP. I don't think, because we'll have a presentation on that one.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I think that 2018-12 and 6 can be on consent then. Unless anybody else has modifications. Next up for information, the I-Dash update, and it's Jonathan Brown, Joe Reichstad, and Carolyn Harris, and I apologize if I mispronounced any of your names. Welcome to the committee. And I missed some.
Abel Mundy.
Okay.
Abel's on the left.
Okay.
He'll introduce himself.
Okay. Ava, I'm sorry, I didn't have your name, and so you can introduce yourself.
My name is not on it.
Sorry.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Joe Reichstad. I'm Assistant Director for Bus Maintenance. And I think the last time we were here, we have some different team members, so I'd like to introduce them as well. Jonathan Brown, he's the Acting Assistant Director for Bus Transportation. He's also a project lead on this team. And we have Carolyn Harris. She works with our IS group, and she's a project manager for the team. And we have Abel Mumby, who's the Acting Manager of Warranty Contracts and Data Analysis for Bus Maintenance, and he's assisting us. So just a quick reminder what I-Dash is. I-Dash is a interactive dashboard that allows us for employee management, brings us consistency between bus maintenance, bus transportation, LRT transportation to make sure we're managing employees consistently. So the core team stakeholders that we have bus maintenance, bus transportation, light rail transportation, and our IS team, and of course subject matter experts as we need them, like HR, occupational health. With that, I'll turn it over to Carolyn.
Since we last met with this committee, it's been about a year, I believe. We're in production, and the items that we are in production is Disability Management Conference, DMC, admin leave, and probation reports for both bus maintenance and bus transportation. We're live with Absence Manager for bus maintenance, and we also have some BI, Business Intelligence reports for both Disability Management and Absence Manager management for bus maintenance. We've implemented a security mechanism for our role manager. And also, we had earlier on the services of a UI designer because the user interface, user experience was very important for this project. So we needed to go back and retrofit some design and with the earlier processes like DMC, admin leave, probation report. Along the way, we've added new users, the coordinators and LRB maintenance, OC help, and also being that we are in a production system and we're doing constant development, we're constantly going back, doing continuing improvement. We have issues that come up, of course, and enhancements for the system.
And I will provide you a demonstration of the system as it appears today. This view is actually the view of an assistant director or director level, and it allows them to have access down to the granular level. I am going to change my access now so that I can I'm going to impersonate a garage manager. What I-Dash does at its base level is provide notifications to the assistant garage manager of any task that they need to do. Right now, the process is that we are dealing with our disability management, admin leave, and probation reports. We've been able to improve the probationary portion of the process for probation by improving the access for bus operators. There are more touch points and making sure that we're giving them everything they need to be a positive force at Metro Transit and to make it through that probationary process and be a great employee for us going forward. Disability management was one of the first ones that we used because it's a difficult process, complicated process. We were able to standardize it in the I-Dash format, and it allows us to provide consistent touch points for people who are out with an illness. For admin leave, just provides us an easy way to manage the admin leave process. If there's someone who's out on admin leave, the manager is notified, they put in a request, and that request goes to a director for approval. Once the director approves it, it automatically sends an email to the payroll department so that the person is paid without a problem. The newest and most exciting portion of IDAS is absenteeism. Bus maintenance went live with this in February 2016. Bus transportation will be going live shortly. I will give you a quick demonstration of absenteeism. So what we're looking at here are all notifications. This is our test environment. There are no signatures in here as of yet, so that's why you see so much information here. This is all the employees that need to be seen by this assistant manager. We go into this employee. We see that there's absences that need to be signed off. This is the employee's absence history that I'm scrolling through. On the right side here is the FMLA information for that operator or employee. It shows their hire date, the hours worked as of today, the remaining hours of FMLA that they have available, and then the eligibility date here of 1/4. If I change this date to 1 year earlier, all of this information is updated. So it tells you how many hours they worked as of that date, 1 year prior, and how many hours they had used as of that date. Each of these absences shows that a signature is needed. If I go into the absence to sign, it will it will show you on the right side for each absence if they have a cert that's valid. If they do not have hours available, it shows that they won't show the cert. If they don't have a cert available, it won't be here. There won't be anything here if they've used up all their hours, or if if the cert has expired, I should say. You will not see the cert here. So it provides quite a bit of accuracy for the ATM, just at a glance. If there is some discipline that's necessary for the operator, it automatically generates the discipline. Bus transportation and bus maintenance and LRT transportation got together. We standardized our processes so that we're delivering the same message through and through. Given that these are possible legal documents, we wanted to make sure that everything here is set in the application so that there's no issues. We have a step-by-step process that the ATMs will go through to make sure that they are touching on all the points that we need them to, and then ask for a signature from the employee. The employee will then get a copy of any discipline that's rendered, and the application will actually push that document once it's saved 60 days later into App Extender, into the HR file, into their personnel file. I'll show application of FMLA, how simple it is. If there is a certification available, you click on the certification, you get an interstitial message, say yes. It's not this slow normally. We're in the test environment and it's the first time I've done this, so that slows the system down a little bit. If we're in live system, at a blink of an eye. So it has assigned the FMLA to this absence, taken away the chargeability of the absence, so it's no longer a chargeable absence, and generated an intermittent FMLA form that the employee can sign to say that they're requesting FMLA for this. All of this information is stored in the system and then pushed into App Extender. And we return to the Absence Hub. This absence that I was dealing with, if you did not notice, was telling me that the person was due a warning. Once I applied the FMLA, it got rid of the warning for them because, of course, it's now non-chargeable. It automatically removed the warning once they sign sign for the absence. There's no need to issue any discipline anymore, so it goes away. If we need to reopen this and make any changes, the only way you can do that is to get a signature from the employee. So it makes sure that there's no funny business going on. The employee knows exactly where they are at all times. And if you're not familiar at bus transportation garages anyway, all the ATMs have a monitor that the employee can see exactly what's going on. So they'll see exactly what you're seeing right now. I'm going to impersonate myself. And so this is what a director level would see. The processes that are open right now and the number of issues that are out there. They can go in and actually see it broken down by garage. And if they needed to, they could go down to the granular level. It's a very powerful tool, and it's a definite time saver. For bus maintenance, they had the ability to apply FMLA in this way, but it took about 5 or 6 steps and about 4 screens to do it. Now it's just one click. This provides the managers time to spend more time with their employees rather than sitting behind the desk and paperwork. Thank you. Oops. Computer.
Slide. Put back.
There we go. Sorry.
So I'll talk a little bit about the user experience. That's the other side of basically what you saw there. Just to confirm what Donovan said, for example, he was using the, when he applied FMLA, before we had to move from one application to another. So you acquired signature in one application, you had to apply FMLA in a different application. Even in the case of discipline as well. You had to move from one application where you acquire signature, where the actual discipline itself for maintenance was done in a different application. So in other words, IDASH has allowed us for certain processes to make it a one-stop shop, where you go in, you know what you need to do, you can see all your work there, and the feedback from the users is saving them time. And I can speak to that because part of my role also is the user. In this role, I'm the supporter of the application, so I can talk from both sides of it. With that, improves our efficiency. Obviously, anytime you don't have to run from one application to a different application, you're able to do things, you kind of streamline things right in front of you. And one of the powerful things about iDash, which Donovan just mentioned, is the notification, which is basically a to-do list. So, I mean, there's people that have a lot of people that report to them. It's good to have, okay, these are the things that you need to do. Red is not good. I mean, there's action that needs to be taken to it. And so that makes iDash really powerful for people that use it. Because, like I said, if you have too many people reporting to you, these are the things that are due via notification. The other thing that notification also does for us is not just tells me as a user, this is what you need to do, but it sends the notification to the right people. In other words, if there's an action that says, okay, I need to take action on it, I have my approval, we send notification to the second level. If it has to go to the director, let's say, then the notification goes to the director, and the director takes the appropriate action. While before that, most of those processes required to print a document and then send the document via mail to the director. So in other words, also the other thing that iDash allows us to do is consistency around the system. I mean, we have multiple operating garages here and there, and over time, the things, there's different ways of doing things, but iDash by rule, we have built into the system that whatever's done at east, for example, has to be done the same way at south or another garage, because, and also that helps us also, if people move across garages, they know what to expect. If we move a supervisor to another garage, there's nothing new. We're doing the same thing, it's just in a different location, which improves our efficiency and how well we do our job. And also the employees know what to expect as well. And also the other thing that we've been able to do is just streamline the process. For example, if I was to be assigned to go to East Metro today, I could, in real time, I could be given the access that I need to operate there now. That's one of the things that iDash allows us to be more effective at what we do, is that we can take people, give them the information they need in real time.
Okay, our 2018 focus would be absence management for transportation, bringing bus transportation live in absenteeism. Employee manager, basically providing ad hoc discipline records, counseling records, commendations, those sorts of things, so that we've standardized those and finished all requirement gathering on those documents. We're about ready to implement the code and implement them into the system. E-process sheet for maintenance, which April will speak on a little bit more than I will, but that's basically treating the beginning of treating a bus like an employee, so that if there's a break job that needs to be done, it's notifying maintenance that this is routine maintenance for this vehicle. Customer contracts, accidents, incidents, and rules violations for bus transportation. Implementing that into the iDash format, so that all of the technology and all of the simplicity of the system is being used throughout the entire bus operations operating policy.
Some of the things we'll do, discipline and grievances, iDash will allow us to say, okay, in a case where discipline is concerned, there's different steps of grievances that follows with it. iDash will allow us to link those disciplines to the right steps. In other words, so if needed, when you need the information together, iDash will have the ability to group the information together, and so make it easy for anybody that needs information to see, okay, why did we end up here? In other words, what caused this first step or second step? iDash will allow us to kind of consolidate that information in one module. That's our next, or one of the future development. The other one there, performance metrics, along with metrics that looks at the system, how the system itself, meaning the system iDash, how well it's operating. We also have metrics on anything that we're reporting in iDash, how well we're performing in that. In other words, if we have equipment in there or any maintenance related to equipment, we'll have also metrics that look at how efficient are we, and also as far as, in other words, how well are we doing our job. The other thing that Donovan talked about, which is the part of the fleet management, which is the E-process. Yes, the equipments will be treated as a person. In other words, in iDash, we'll be able to go to an equipment and get all the information that we need for the equipment on one screen. While now we have TXBase, we have MMIS, we have different applications that has different part of information. More so, also the other thing that will allow us to do is that iDash will allow us to have that information about equipment mobile. In other words, you don't have to be tied to a garage, into a shop to be able to do it. You can have, once we get to it, part of the E-process, the stuff will be on the tablet. In other words, we manage equipment that are mobile. We manage equipment that never show up at the garage. With iDash, we'll be able to just grab your tablet and go do the routine maintenance that you need offsite and back to it. And the other thing also, a little bit on the E-process real quick, E-process will allow us to say, okay, so somebody's working offsite, the supervisor's at the garage, will give us the ability to talk, the supervisor to talk to, within the application, to the mechanic offsite, and be able to go back to say, okay, feed information back or even questions to communicate via the application. I think this is a powerful application. The more stuff we put in here, I'll speak for myself. I'm really excited about iDash. The more stuff we put in there, I think the more useful the tool is to us. And with that, is there any questions?
Any questions?
Councilmember Munt.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure who should respond to this, but I'm curious whether our employees view this as a benefit or a burden.
I'll speak with that. Part of, like I said, I was a user, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Like I said at the beginning, I was part of user and also part of a support team. Part user, in my primary role, I'm an assistant manager of a garage. So in other words, I'm working face-to-face with the employees. This is a benefit to the employees in the sense that the feedback we get is that because they have the same information we're doing. In other words, the application allows us to streamline, let's say, for example, signatures. Now we have where the employee uses the badge. They know that nobody else is going to do anything with the signature because your badge is your means to approve whatever you're requesting. The other thing, too, is the employees are the ones working off-site. So if we bring e-process, for example, online, that will allow the employee who is working with a pickup somewhere on a platform hopefully to be able to service if it's looking at equipment with the information they need right there. And also with the e-process, this is just one of it, we'll have all the information that they need as far as service materials, stuff that otherwise you have to be in the building to be able to do it. And real quick, the other things such as I will say like discipline, for example, if there's a record warning and all the information that goes with it. One of the thing that Donovan mentioned is that once the employee signs, if there's any modification to that, the employee has to sign again. So in other words, yes, there's feedback from the employees. They know that nobody will make any changes on the record without my signature on it. So from my experience, the feedback from employees is yes, this is good.
I'll provide part of an answer to that too. Also, I spent 15 years as a garage manager, managing operators every day, and one of the things that they wanted more than anything was a way to see things easily. Part of what iDash will do is actually give them a view into the system so that they can go in and do things themselves. They need to do an accident report. Our plan is to incorporate parts of that into the iDash system so it'll be simpler for them to complete the form, and even do it from home rather than taking a piece of paper home and completing the form. They can do it, go online and do it. Additionally, as I said, they see what the manager's doing on the screen in the manager's office. The great thing about iDash is we spent a lot of time making sure that it was easy to use and easy to understand. And feedback that I've seen in the garages is that even without instruction, it's intuitive. They go in, they can use it. For the HU members who have access right now, they can use it, and the operators who have been involved in using the system as an object of the system also have a better understanding of the process, whatever process we're doing, and they have a better understanding of what the manager is doing.
Councilmember Reynoso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Interesting, different way to really control absenteeism and discipline. But I'm wondering what kind of conversations have taken place with the ATU that represents these folks. You know, I would right off the bat, as a union member myself, I'd like to see where on the form itself it allows a space for the Weingarten Act, for instance, the right that a union member has for representation. Is there a section there that says they've denied it, they've accepted it, who the representation is? I'm a little concerned about the one size fits all. You know, there's situations where there's an absentee employee that had some absences, but they're excruciating. For several things that play a part in it. A one size fits all is a little concerning because it doesn't give a manager or somebody else a leeway. This is what I'm thinking, a leeway of kind of tailoring discipline.
Understood, Madam Chair and council members. Once you get to the discipline point, you're providing the same discipline. It's necessary to do that. But before you get to that discipline point, one size does not fit all. All absences are not the same. All incidents are not the same. There's consideration given prior to getting to the point where you're providing discipline. We begin between maintenance, bus transportation, and rail transportation. We talked about making sure that we're providing the same message when we're providing discipline, and that we're taking the proper steps before we get to discipline. There's coaching, there's counseling, things that are not disciplined prior to this. And if there's an absence where there's consideration given, there's no need for the ATM to charge that person with the absence. But once they've decided that it's charged, then it's handled the same.
On the other questions that weren't answered, is there a space for them to, on the Weingarten Act, whether they've asked for representation or not?
Actually. Just one moment.
I mean, you can just tell me yes or no. You don't have to show me. There is?
In fact, there's a space for the union member, the union steward, to actually sign along with the employee to show that they were there also.
Okay.
Before any discipline is given, there's a form issued to the employee letting them know that they have the right to have union there. It's letting them know when the hearing will happen and that they have the right to have union representation.
So this is during the interview process, correct?
Yes. And also, if they're getting a warning, as part of the warning, there's a form that is provided to the employee, letting them know that they can have union representation.
Okay. And the last question that didn't get answered was, what conversations have taken place with ATU?
With ATU, prior to going live with bus maintenance with absenteeism, to give them an overview of the system. We met with them twice, actually. Just the overview of the system initially before we went live with absenteeism, and then before we went live with absenteeism, we gave them an overview of the absenteeism process. They were actually impressed with it, and we consolidated some things and moved some some need for signatures in some cases, at least on the bus transportation side, which reduces the time that the employee needs to come in.
Last one.
Councilmember Reynoso.
Thank you. So did they raise concerns? Did they say, yes, we're okay with this? Did give it a blessing? What exactly happened there?
We gave them the overview. We told them the benefits of the application, showed them how it worked. They gave us nothing negative really about it. They didn't give a whole lot of positives, but they did say that they were happy that we standardized information that was provided to the employee and improve the ease of use.
The reason I ask is, we just got through a very difficult negotiation process, and last thing we need as an organization is, 200 bus drivers right here at our meetings again, because they're upset about something happening. So I'm hoping that, if you say the union is okay with it, if there's no big concerns, that's fine. But I guess only time will tell.
Madam
Chair?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Madam Chair and members of council, one thing just to add to the question there, the IDASH application is mimicking our current attendance policy. So it's not that we are adding something new. We are basically, we've built in the rules of attendance policy into it. So it's just while before we did the same thing in different application, we've moved that into one application. That's the one thing. The other thing I wanted to add on to, yes, the IDASH allows the employee refuse to sign the employee is not available. It allows for exceptions when it fits the situation. So those things are in place. The biggest thing I could say is that this is not a new thing that is being put on the employee. It's actually the existing attendance policy simplified, put in a system that helps us manage that policy instead of using multiple applications.
Joe?
Madam Chair and committee member, the one thing I would like to add to that is we are in lockstep when we go forward with these. Brian, our leadership is making sure that we're addressing this with the union first. Before we roll out any new module, we have new modules in 2018 we plan on rolling out. We'll be introducing that to ATU after we roll them out. So,
Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. It just seems like it has the potential to be very transparent for the employees and the managers, and could be a tool for a lot of added efficiency. So perhaps Brian in future reports can give us an update on how employees are adapting to it. Thank you. Final information item is text for safety, and Chad Leffler is here to present.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, General Manager Brian, and council members. My name is Chad Leffler. I'm your Transit Control Center Manager for Metro Transit, and I'm here just to give an informational update on Text for Safety, our interactive text service for public safety that launched about a little over 3 weeks ago. We started out way back when, and it has been a long process for us, longer than we wanted to, but our goals were this: safety, innovation, and equity. Basically, safety, increasing our ability for our customers to report unsafe situations to us, to the transit police. And when I say us, I'm the dispatch center for the transit police. Give them a two-way text messaging system to discreetly, without fear of retaliation, let us know what's going on board our vehicles, at our facilities, things like that. And then using just a simple text message to ensure that you don't have to have a smartphone to be able to contact us. You don't have to be able to get the app to be able to contact us. So you can actually do both ways, which is very, I think, very neat and very helpful to everybody. Our timeline that we started out with back in Q2 of last year, we had to go out and find some information because we thought we had a solution and it didn't work out for us. So we did a request for information. We got back some information, what's available on the marketplace. We then proceeded to create an RFP requirements and do the proposal. We had a recommendation committee then meet to review the proposals and select a vendor and get a notice to proceed in Q3. And then Q4 was spent on implementation, how it's going to work, getting the Metro Transit app integrated with it. And then we did have a launch date of December 18th of 2017. There's really two ways to connect with us then. Again, via simple text message. Our phone number there is 612-900-0411. Very simple. The vendor is very nice. They looked for different phone numbers for us that they thought would work, and they thought this was a nice, easy one to remember and to use, and we agreed with them. Or you could just use the Metro Transit app. And the Metro Transit app, if you go down on the slide there and look, you can see it's going to be a text for safety. Hit that. That will send you basically to an interactive text messaging. It's kind of like a portal for you, if you will. So just as an example of a text message there, and then the app showing that. Our customer outreach has been a news release. You may have seen that on some of the news stations or in the different media sources. Metro Transit website. And then I think the really important thing is the onboard vehicle placards. And this is an example of an onboard vehicle placard that you might see. I saw one in a bus last week. I was really happy to see it too. I was sitting there and I looked up and I thought, well, there it is. I was really happy because I was uncertain when they're going to be. They always tell me, oh, they're rolling out continuously. And I was like, wow, this is cool. But feel unsafe, see something suspicious or inappropriate, text for safety. And that's really what it's about too. We want people to call 911 for emergencies. A bus gets in an accident where people are hurt. We don't want them texting us. We want them calling 911 because 911 will get it to us, but also send the appropriate medical response and things like that. I think the text for safety, again, there's our number 900-0411. We'll get it. Now this is a placard that is on the vehicles now. We're looking at permanent signage later on, see what kind of response we get after we roll this out for a little while. And that kind of goes to my next slide, which is what is our initial response? What have we got? First 2 weeks, we had 25 text messages from customers. Half of them were on the blue and green line in that pie chart there. Bus is a little low, and that could be due to many factors. And we do have some non-public safety related texts. Somebody's texting us and telling us their bus is off course and ended up being an MVTA bus. It wasn't even our bus, but it's off course. And we said, well, this is for public safety. And I think people are just still trying to get used to it a little bit. You know, a couple people have texted us and said, just testing it to see if it works. And it does. And we text them back and say, yep, you're good to go. Have a great day. Have some facilities things. It could be include like biohazard cleanup. I know there's one this weekend for Brooklyn Center Transit Center. Somebody described what needed to be cleaned up, and we're like, okay, we'll take care of it. There's some customer feedback there, which I liked. We have received a couple of these. This is one where I really appreciate being able to connect with support and Metro Transit Police without having to call and jeopardize my physical safety. And that was one of the original ones we got right away on December 21st from a customer reporting a male smoking on board the train. And it's kind of funny, too, because they say the male's smoking and he's using an air freshener to kind of cover it up. And, you know, you don't want to be the one that's calling in on that person, but now they can let us know what's going on, you know, and I think that's really important. And I think people have really been craving that in some ways, is connecting with us. So that's kind of our initial response. I checked with my my team back today, and I said, how many we got so far? So the 25 was December 18th through December 31st. And now since January 1st through January 8th, I've gotten another 30. So I've already almost doubled in 1 week what I had in 2 weeks. And I think that's going to continue as people get a little more used to it and see what's going on. Not that I want a lot, because I don't want a lot, because that means things are happening in our vehicles, but it just shows that there's maybe a need for it and whatnot. So that's about all I have. Are there questions or comments about the service? You could use it. You could try it right now. I gave my guy a heads up that somebody may send in a test message. Just make sure you say this is a test. Just checking it out. He will respond to you. We do respond 24 hours a day right now. So if you're out there late at night, you'll get a response. And if you're out there in the middle of the rush hour, you'll get a response. So
It is already in my phone, actually. Councilmember Reynoso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian, thank you. I know this has been on my list and many others' lists. Chad, thank you for putting this together, and I think it's fantastic that one of the concerns I had was that it was only an app-based conversation. I think adding a phone number to it makes it absolutely perfect, and having the two-way it makes it even better. And somehow or another, you know, we're gonna have a few growing pains, and some people aren't going to understand that it's not an emergency system, but a method of using an emergency system that they don't have to call. But I think it's fantastic. And the next thing we'd like to do, and I was down in Cancun, Mexico, and I text Brian a picture of a bus I was in down in Cancun, Mexico, free Wi-Fi available. That's our next stop. So thank you. Thank you. And on behalf of someday, somehow, somebody's going to use this system that maybe saves a life or saves a big problem.
Especially with the inappropriate and suspicious activity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's a fantastic system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Munt.
Madam Chair, Chad, my friends on Facebook are increasingly concerned about sex trafficking during the Super Bowl. I'm wondering if we have shared this placard on social media so that people are aware that the number exists before the Super Bowl occurs.
It's been shared on our Metro Transit's Twitter or Facebook feeds. Is that the question you're asking?
I will find it and share it. Thank you.
Councilmember Schreiber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was my question somewhat. Did you mention that you were going to have placards on the trains?
On the vehicles, yep. The buses are out there right now. The trains are not. There's a little bit more limited space for advertisement on the trains.
Is there? I'm wondering if there couldn't be something more permanent.
And then
the
we'll add the
inside of
permits.
each car, you know.
That's the original goal. I think right now it's temporary signage so we can see what kind of response we're getting from what we put out there and determining is this the actual message we want before they make permanent signs. Please.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Are there any further questions or comments? I remember when Councilmember Reynoso, when we had the presentation on human trafficking, and you said how important this was and that we needed to get it done. And I think it was like a month later it got done. So I thought, boy, when Councilmember Reynoso and Brian put their heads to something, it gets done.
Wi-Fi.
Anyway, I would like to introduce Jenna Ernst. She has been at our TAB meetings, but she has not been at our Transportation Committee meetings. And I don't know if you want to say something or Abe wants to say something, but welcome to the committee.
Just apologize. I assumed everyone already knew her because she's been on board for about a month and a half now, and she's already well integrated, a key part of our team, taking the place of Luann Major, who'd been here 35 years, I think, so big shoes to fill, but Jenna's been doing a great job, so you'll be seeing a lot of her.
Thank you. Yeah, when I was in the Air Force Auxiliary CAP, I was first triggered interest in governing bodies, and then I lived in Jerusalem, and that really made me want to learn more about how policymaking affects communities, and so I'm excited to be at the Met Council. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? I think we can be adjourned. This might be a record.